All right, welcome back to Adobe Lightroom Classic. And today we're going to take a look at the second step of the process just after you import your image. And that process is called culling and tagging your images. But before we get into that, I'm just going to kind of go over the screen and show you and tell you what everything does in it. So this is on a Mac, just so you should know. So it might look a little bit different than what you see. And this is your basic layout. And so the first thing that we have up here is up in the top right-hand corner, we have library. And library is your browser where you kind of look at things and find things and cull things. The next thing that we have up here is the develop module. Now, Lightroom Develop Module and Adobe Camera Raw are the same exact program. Now, there is one new feature inside of Adobe Camera Raw that Lightroom doesn't have yet, but I expect it probably is going to be in there soon. Then we have the map, which I've never used. It's just a way to geolocate where you take your photos. Then we have an area where you can make a book, and the book hasn't been updated or changed in probably 15 years, so there's not much new. Same thing with slideshow. It's a really basic slideshow creator. Then we have a print section, and right here, a web section. And the web section is just as old. I haven't even looked at it, but I don't assume they've done anything to update it because I don't think anyone actually uses it. Most people who use Lightroom Classic are pretty much going to be using the library and the develop module solely. And you have your choice. You could actually tone a complete image in Adobe Lightroom Classic and never use Photoshop if that's what you would like. However, I think most people then send their images once they've done some basic adjustments over to Photoshop. So we're going to take a look at just the layout here. So up here in the top left-hand corner, you'll see this is Navigator. And this just shows you what image you're on. All right. You can open and close all of these by clicking these little arrows. All right. We have the catalog. So we talked about the catalog in the first. So it says all photographs. I only have a few because I don't use it. My last import, which is this one, has this much. So that's what's in my catalog now. I delete my catalog all the time because I don't use the cataloging function. I only use Lightroom basically for one specific purpose, and that's uploading images to a gallery because it's really good at that. The next thing that we have here are folders. And if I open up, those are just the different hard drives that are on my computer. It's going to be different for everybody. But if you needed to manually navigate to a location, that's where you would want to go. We have collections. And collections are like this. They let you store images that you like in a specific spot. And let me explain this. And we'll go over collections later. So let me give you this example. If you had a pet dog, and your dog's name was Fred, and you took photos of your dog every day for a whole year. Well, you would have to navigate if you downloaded and imported it 365 times through 365 different folders. Well, that would be sort of a pain in the neck if you wanted to make something like a calendar at the end of the year, Dog Fred. So what collections do is as you're going through that folder the first time, it allows you to put an image that you like into a collection. So you could have a collection over here that says good photos of Fred. And then when it comes time to make that calendar, you can just simply navigate through your good photos and you've already narrowed it down from the tens of thousands of images that you've taken to just the ones that you actually want to look at. Then we have smart collections, and smart collections let you use what we call variables in photography. And the way they work are, think of this. So what we're going to learn here, and you can see on this image, I can actually give that image a star saying, like that image. And when I give that image a star in a smart collection, I could tell it to an image has 1 star or more, put it in this collection. So every time I star an image is going to put that image in that collection. Why? Well, because I've given it a star. And then if I want to see all my 1 star or more images at the end of the year, I can simply go to that location. Now there's a little trick, and I talked about this in the last video about moving your images. When you add to a collection, it does not move the image from its location to the collection. The collection just remembers the path of where it's located. So it's not duplicating it. It's not moving it. It just remembers where it is. So if at any time during that year, you move a folder with Fred's photos in it to a different location or rename it, the computer won't be able to find it anymore. It will still have the preview most likely, but it won't be able to find the main image. So that's what collections do here. The next section that we have here are published services, and there's more services that can be found, but basically you can set these up and they're a quick way to kind of drag and drop an image and to automatically send it off to a place like Facebook or something like that. So that's what published services do. If we come on over here, and you're going to see this, and I'm trying not to bring up my dock, but if we come over here, you see that little arrow that I'm over right now? You'll see it better now. There's a little arrow. If I click on that arrow, watch what happens. So I've clicked that arrow, and if I go away, notice the bar goes away. And if I hover back over it, it comes back. So that's a way to hide and show that. And that just is going to get you more screen space. So if you're not using anything over here, there's no real reason to have this bar out. So you can just click on it. If it goes the other way, it's going to stay there all the time. You can also come in right here. See how I have a pointer, but watch what happens when I get right over it. See how we get that different? So if I left click and hold my click, I can go in and out to control the size of that. Now this is as small as I can make it, but you can move this in and out to make it the same size. The same thing works over here. We have the little arrow. I can click that, it goes away. I can come over here, click it again, and it will stay. And I can control the size of that bar as well. So those do the same thing. Then we have another one up here on the top. We click that and we lose all the little icons. They're kind of hide and show. And if you want to get rid of your thumbnails, or if you accidentally ever do this and you can't find your thumbnails, it's because you've clicked on that little icon and they've disappeared. And then when you come back to them, they reappear. All right. Now I leave this up so everybody can see everything that I'm doing. That's those little arrows that we have up there. Right down here, this is the import button that we used last time. We also have an export button. So if we wanted to export our photos, we could do that. This right here lets us see the image in a grid format. This lets us see it in a single format. This is going to do a comparison view. And what this would show you is a before and after. I'm not going to click on it because I haven't done anything to it. And you can click on this a couple times and it will show you comparative views in a variety of different ways. This is the survey view, and this would just allow you to look at a bunch of different images all at the same time instead of just one or two. Right here, we have this people view. And if you shoot somebody over and over again, Lightroom can actually recognize the person's face. So that's what that's doing. I've never actually used it. The next thing that we have right here, this is just a reiteration. There's a lot of things inside Adobe programs that there's like 15 different ways to do the same thing. So this is a way to say you pick this image, and this is a way to say you reject that image. You're doing the same thing by selecting stars. So if I click on one star, and notice I can either do this a couple different ways. I can click here and add a star. So this image is selected. I can click a star, click 2 stars, click 5 stars. It's going to add those stars to the image. I cannot click up here in the image and do this. All right. I need to click down here, or if I have the image selected thumbnail, so I'll go to this one, I can come in here and hit the number 1. That gives me 1 star. The number 2, 3 stars, 4, 3, 4, 5. All right. So 5 gives me 5 stars. 0 gives me back to 0 stars. 6 gives me a color red. So you can see it's highlighted with that little red. And then 7, 8, 9 all gives you colors. There's also a purple color. Now, there is no way to get rid of the color without manually doing this. So to manually do this, you need to go up here to photo. And so here's your flag. And if you look at this, there's always quick keys. So the quick key is P and U, and rejected is X. All right. Next thing that we have are the ratings. So 0 is none. So 1 star, 2 star, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. Decrease the rating would be brackets, or increase would be the other side of the bracket. And then color labels, here's your colors. Notice purple doesn't have a quick key. So if you wanted purple, you just have to manually set that. And if you come down here and you go back to color label, you can hit none and it will get rid of the color label. Those are all just ways of what we call culling or tagging the images. So after we kind of go through all the different windows here, I'm going to run back over here and I'll show you the culling process. That's kind of the point of this video. So on the right side of the screen, we have the histogram, and the histogram just shows you where the data is in your image. And for every image, that's going to change. Well, why? Because every image is different. So that you're going to have different areas of data. Sometimes people use this and say, oh, you can adjust your image by looking at the data. Well, sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. So I don't really use the histogram here. I do use it in curves and in Photoshop, but it really is just showing you where the data is. And unless you understand how to read it, it might not make any sense. The next option we have here is a quick develop menu. And so you can notice we can hit sets. So if I wanted to change this to a glamour portrait, I can simply select that and it's going to give me the glamour portrait look. It really didn't do that much, but you could select all these photos and add that glamour portrait and it would quickly convert using that preset. So I don't use presets inside of Lightroom all that much because I know how the program works. So it's just as easy for me to get that effect. The next option is white balance. And because these are JPEG images, we're not getting all the normal options that we have, but white balance is great. But the quick develop section is really for like if you're going to create a gallery and you don't want to really fully edit the image, you can just do a couple of adjustments to all your photos and then export them and you save time. And it's not really as efficient as the develop menu, but it lets you kind of adjust photos quickly. And that's what this means. So sometimes there's not really a reason to even use it, but down here we can adjust the temperature and the tint. We can adjust the exposure, the contrast, the highlights, the shadows, the whites, the blacks, the clarity, and the vibrance of our image. And these do it in like big steps. It's not as refined as you'll see in the develop module. And in general, that's where you want to adjust a photo, not here in the quick develop menu. Down here, we can add keywords. Right here, if we want to change or append or do anything with our metadata, we can do that right there. If we want to put comments on the images, we can put those there. Right here, if I come and I'm going to select this, and you'll notice it says filters off. But if I go to rated and I've rated those images, it's just going to show me the rated images. And we'll get back to this here in a second. So let's go ahead and just go back to camera info. So we're back to where we are. The point of this tutorial really is to show you how to cull your images. Normally when you take photos, you take hundreds, thousands of photos. Let's say you go on a trip. I think last time it was to Ireland. So we come back and we have 10,000 photos. Well, you're not going to come back and use edit or tone all 10,000 videos. So what you want to do is you want to narrow it down. And I don't initially delete my images. And you can use this at a point where if you don't want to store everything, that you go through, tag the images, and you can delete the images. When you work commercially, you don't really want to delete any of your take because people might come back and say, oh, you remember that picture you took of so-and-so? Well, they just got a promotion. Can we get an image of them? So not really a great idea in that situation to delete images. So I'm going to show you how to go through, and I do this with my hands, okay? So my right hand here, I know it looks probably backwards on the phone, but my right hand's on the right-hand side of the keyboard. So we just have the basic arrow keys left and right. And so if I tap the left, you can see it's going through on the computer through the images. And so I use that instead of clicking with the mouse. My left hand just basically lives on the number 1 because 1 gives me 1 star. And then if I want to move it over to 2, I can give it 2 stars. Now, I don't really care if an image has 1 star or 2 stars. All I'm really trying to do is identify the ones I like in the first path. So if I like this image, I'm going to give it 1 star. I come here, I like that, I'm going to give it 1 star. If I don't like that image, I'm going to pass it on, pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. 1 star, pass it on, 1 star, stars. Okay, so I've gone through my simple take here and I've identified the images that I like and I don't like by giving them 1 star. If you remember, we can come over here and go filter by rated. And because I rated them with stars, we're only seeing the images that I gave stars. Now I must have given this one 3 stars. So if I hit 0, it will disappear. And when you do this, it's not deleting your images, it's just hiding them. So we could simply go back to view through camera info and voila, they all appear back. And in this, let's say that we'll go back to rated and I'm going to go back through a second time. Let's say I have, let's say I went through all 10,000 photos and I still have 200 and I want to get it down to 100. So I can go back through a second time and I can say, yeah, I really like this. I'm going to give it 2 stars and I'm going to give this 2 stars. All right. And then if I want to further filter those images, I can just come over here to where it has these little stars, click 2, and it's only going to show me the images with 2 stars. All right. And that's how you cull your images. So the next time you open up Lightroom, if you come to this folder and want to see just the images that you gave stars to, it saves that information unless you delete the data document in your catalog. All right. Well, that's the end of this video on basically navigate Adobe Lightroom Classic and how to cull your images. So as you're importing, practice doing your culling and then filtering out your images. It will really speed up your workflow and make your life a whole lot easier because you're just seeing the images that you want to use. In the next video, we're going to jump on over and do something a whole lot more fun, and that's taking a look at the develop module. Now, if you've ever used Adobe Camera Raw, it's going to be really simple to learn because they're the exact same program. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave those below. If you haven't subscribed, we would love to have you as a subscriber. A wonderful day.